There are growing concerns over the mounting crisis confronting undocumented migrants in South Africa, Zimbabwean nationals in particular, with the Zimbabwean Exemption Permits coming to an end, the latest being an extension of 6 more months on that issue. And as a member state of the African Union, South Africa has clear international and national obligations regarding the treatment of refugees to ensure the integrity of foreign nationals. For more on this, we're joined by Adv Simba Chitando. Thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. Maybe let's start with the reaction to the extension of the application to June next year.
Morning, greetings to your viewers. My reaction is the extension by the minister, this latest one, is yet another backtrack from several decisions where he has backtracked since the underlying decision to end the ZEP. We have seen a backtrack before on the 14th of December when the directive to end the or cancel bank accounts and terminate ZEP holders' employment in the country. He backtracked from that directive. I think it was Directive 11. He then made another decision in February where he made similar withdrawals. He has withdrawn the rejection letters he sent out to ZEP holders who applied for waivers during the grace period, which he provided himself. And now we've seen the fourth decision made on basically the doors of court. We're in court on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of October, and this latest extension is the minister again trying to avoid what has been a bad decision, being held accountable for a bad decision. So that is my reaction. I am disappointed because the matter should be resolved in court, and it looks like the minister is making decisions to avoid being held accountable for what cabinet decided on the 24th of November.
On your point of saying the minister has backtracked once again, what does that then suggest? Does it suggest that he shouldn't have given this extension, or the department shouldn't have given this extension?
Well, it's a sign that they don't know what they're doing. We are happy that the can has been kicked down the road. That is the current position. But anyone who's watching this would get the impression that he's running away. He's not sure.
I do beg your pardon. Please finish your thought.
Yeah, sorry. He made a decision that the ZEP will end. The ZEP was supposed to end on the 31st of December last year, and then he extended it, and he's extended it again. So the issue is, and without any justification, it sounds as though that he does not know what he's doing. He keeps changing his mind, keeping on extending and extending and extending. And again, no ZEP holder asked the minister to extend until the 31st of June. This is a date that he made up on his own. He decided that I am extending, and we did not ask him to do so. As far as I'm aware, the other Zimbabwean organizations and the other institutions that have brought him to court have not asked him to do so. But we're happy, and many ZEP holders do take this as a victory because, one, it shows that the minister is all over the place. That is clear to anyone who's watching this. Two, it is a stay of execution. It gives time for ZEP holders to, do make whatever decision that they want. I can't tell them, what to do. But earlier on in your introduction, you mentioned South Africa's obligations to international law. South Africa has an obligation to promote and protect investments of Zimbabweans in South Africa in terms of the bilateral investment protection and promotion agreement. He's being held accountable for that. The decision that was made is inconsistent with ZEP holders' rights to property. I was speaking to ZEP holder earlier this week, or this past week, where he said, I'm speaking to you, advocate, from an apartment that is empty. I've sold everything. ZEP holders are selling their movable and immovable, their homes, on the cheap because they were afraid of this deadline. And the ministers moved the deadline. This is what looks like to be a forced property sale. Many people can call it a land grab. You are forcing people out of the country. And it's not, and they've got the investments here, and those investments have been jeopardized by the minister's decision. Then we've got the Africa Free Trade Agreement, and the decisions are obviously inconsistent with a liberalized zone for inter-Africa trade. When you target, in this case, lawful ZEP holders, they're not undocumented, they are documented. They're ZEP holders because ZEP itself is a form of documentation, and he's targeting them to make them undocumented and then give reason to force them out of the country and abandon their investments and uproot their families from the community, the South African community which they've known all their lives. So I feel as though the minister's playing with people's lives. Hundreds of thousands of people, in the case of ZEP holders themselves, we're looking at 178 or 180,000 ZEP holders, but their families as well. Their employers are going to be affected. And we're also looking at a damage to the South African property market. It's now been extended, but after the new deadline, what is going to happen to a property market where all the Zimbabweans sell their property, their land, to avoid being separated from it by a minister who's targeting the right to be in the country? The property market isn't going to be in trouble. The rental housing market is going to be in trouble. We have to find South Africans to immediately move into the properties that Zimbabweans will have to leave because they can no longer rent them, having been forced out by force, obviously by unlawful force rather, by ministers' decisions that are all over the place, changing every day.
Advocate Chitando, the assertion that the department seemingly does not know what it is doing, or that the minister, as you put it, does not know what he's doing and he's just making random decisions. The department noted, though, that very few Zimbabwean nationals had actually applied for ordinary and other visas that were open in terms of the options that were available to them. And at least one report has pointed out that last month, 6,000 out of the 178,000 permit holders had made representations about why the department should not terminate their permits. So not enough people actually came through, and hence the reason for this extension.
I've heard that statistic, and I've heard what the minister said in that regard, and in response and in rebuttal to it. The minister knows that many ZEP holders do not qualify for the critical skills list because he, in conjunction or while he was doing the whole cancelling of ZEPs, as there were critical skills lists which no ZEP holder, many ZEP holders do not qualify for. So what he has done is made it impossible for ZEP holders to apply for mainstream visas through several other administrative decisions, which are also being challenged in court, because those decisions, the decision to make the critical skills list pretty much unreachable for anyone besides a rocket scientist and a brain surgeon. But what ZEP holders are not going to do is to apply for a permit knowing that the money is just going to go, is going to be forsaken. I've spoken to immigration practitioners, several of them, and one of the biggest immigration practitioners told me that every single application for mainstream visa for waiver was rejected. So the minister then, having noticed that the Zimbabweans who were making the applications stopped because they were being rejected, they stopped and he said that, no, look, I'm going to withdraw my own rejection letters. This is a minister that has got no clue what he's doing. He withdrew his own rejections He says, I'm not giving you a waiver. Then he says, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to reconsider, withdraw my rejection. And he withdrew the rejections without any application or any request from the ZEP holders themselves. So he's backtracking. He's the one who's changing his mind. He's the one who is running away from being held accountable in court. The second reason, and the most important reason why I believe ZEP holders have not applied for what he calls the mainstream visas, is because there is a court date that is pending. They would like to have their rights protected by the judiciary. They've approached the judiciary and they're waiting for an outcome there. So why would they jeopardize their position by doing what the minister wants, especially knowing that the minister appears to not know what he wants? You know, he's all over the place. Why did he withdraw his own rejections? Why is he changing the dates? And why did he choose the date middle of next year, 6 months from the 6-month extension? Why not 7 months? Why not 8 months? Why not 10 years? There is no explanation. It is all arbitrary decisions made by a beleaguered minister who is desperate and is trying to avoid being held accountable in court.
Advocate Simba Chitando, thank you for availing yourself this morning.